Hello everyone. First off, I want to say I'm making this video not to get pity, not to get attention, just to warn people and to let people know they're not alone. It all started back in January of 2018. My mother, her aorta was entirely blocked, so of course she was away in a hospital called Wake Forest in North Carolina. And while she was in there, I began to get sick. I was throwing up almost everything I ate. I couldn't keep anything down at all. So I went to the hospital, and they said I needed to go see a doctor named Dr. Henshaw to see about having my gallbladder taken out. And she said that that's probably what's causing the problems, that if I get it removed, then everything will be fine. So I went through with surgery believing that everything would be fine. And about a week into my recovery from that, I distinctly remember one day the sharp pain in my side where my gallbladder used to be, and it felt as if someone was just taking a knife and twisting it in my side. So I went to the hospital, honestly, within a 3-month period, 57 times, 13 of which were by ambulance. Every single time I went, they always gave me morphine for the pain and said it was all in my head. It was just from anxiety and stress from what my mother had been through recently. And eventually, I went to my family doctor, Heather Bragg, and she ordered a gastric emptying test. And what that is where you have to eat something with a small amount of radioactive material in it, so they can track it via some sort of machine to see how fast your stomach digests things. I did the test, and it took about 4.5 hours. And before I could even get out to the car, Heather Bragg had called me back with the results. She said I had one of the worst cases of gastroparesis anyone has ever seen, and what gastroparesis translates to exactly is paralyzation of the stomach. My stomach was almost entirely paralyzed at that point. So at some point I was happy that I knew my diagnosis, but then I wasn't, because it's a rare and incurable disease. There's no exact cure for it, and there's not much known about it either. So, throughout about 2 months after my diagnosis, every single day I would throw up multiple times a day, almost every single hour, actually. And I just kept going more and more insane. It felt like. And at that point, I had given up, and I said to my mom, to my fiance Michael, I want to die. I don't want to live like this anymore. Because an easy way to explain how gastroparesis makes you feel is it makes you feel like you've had the worst stomach flu of your life every single day of your life. So, imagine feeling like that for 2 months straight and being told that you're crazy. It takes a toll on you to the point where I was suicidal. And at some point, I just had stopped eating, because every time I'd even put something in my mouth, it would immediately come back up within seconds, even water. So I didn't eat anything that would stay down for 3 weeks, and I would sip on water that would sometimes stay down during the 3 weeks. Eventually, my family and my fiance convinced me to go to the hospital. And I didn't want to go, because I had always gone and they just tell me I was crazy and send me home. But I listened to them and went anyway, because I knew I was dying at that point. And when I got there, that was confirmed. My potassium was entirely gone. All my vitamins were gone. I obviously hadn't eaten anything for 3 weeks. And they said if I had waited another day or two, I would have been dead. So I originally went to Montgomery Regional Hospital, and the first day I got there, so that way they could give me the potassium without my veins burning up, they put a main line in my neck. And I don't know if you can see it. I think that might be it right there. And it was there so the potassium didn't burn my veins. I stayed in Montgomery Hospital for 6 days. And then they told me I needed to be transferred to Roanoke Memorial Hospital because they didn't exactly have what I needed there anymore. I had literally taken their entire supply of potassium over the 6-day period, and they didn't have any more. So I went to Roanoke Memorial, and the first day I got there, they said, okay, we need to put you on a feeding tube so that way you can live at that point, because I still hadn't eaten anything while I was in the other hospital for the 6 days. But while I was on this feeding tube, they were slowly introducing solid foods back into my diet again. And around that time, well, first of all, I was put on Reglan when I first found out about my diagnosis. And what Reglan is it is a medicine that is a motility stimulator that's supposed to stimulate your stomach. However, it has extremely severe side effects, one of which is making you suicidal. So that was another reason why I wanted to die. So while I was in Roanoke Memorial, they took me off of it, said it was crazy I was put on it to begin with because it's an experimental drug already. And once they took me off of it, I felt like a different person. I wanted to live again. And even though I had a feeding tube in my nose, I was happy to be alive again. And eventually I got discharged home with that machine right there. It's a Kangaroo Joey. That's the feed bags with the osmolalite in it, and then the pole, and it has to be hooked directly into a wall. And I had the feeding tube in it, and what they didn't tell me when I had left Roanoke Memorial was that I was supposed to see someone about the feeding tube as soon as I got home. It wasn't in my discharge papers either. So the first day I got home I had thrown up because the osmolalite, I was on it even more than before. I was on it over a 12-hour period at night. And about at that time, it got clogged for the first time. And I was told to go to the ER if it were to get clogged. So what they did is they took it out and put a new one in. 2 days later, it got clogged again. Went back. They took it out, put another one in. That one they put in was defective, and the tube wasn't even an open circuit at that point. So I went back again, and I got a different emergency room doctor. And he said, aren't you supposed to be seeing someone about your feeding tube? We're not exactly supposed to be taking them in and out like this. And he got him on the phone, the man I was apparently supposed to see and wasn't told. And he said that it was okay for me to be off the feeding tube for now to see how I was over the weekend just eating normal food as long as I take a vitamin every day, because that was how I was getting my vitamins at that point as well. And then to go see my family doctor the week after so she could decide if I needed to be put back on it. So I went to see her, and she said I could keep the feeding tube out. A little while before I had my feeding tube removed, I had gone and seen, I forget what his name was, but I went and saw a doctor in Wake Forest where my mother was, and he pretty much didn't know what he was talking about at that point, which I kind of understood because not a lot is known about this disease in the first place. But he said within the month I would have to be put on 2 feeding tubes that were inserted into my stomach into my intestines. And that I would only be able to get my feed through my feeding tube for the rest of my life. And that there was no medicines that could help this disease. I found out he was entirely wrong. My family doctor, Heather Bragg, the same day that I went to see about the feeding tube being taken out, she said that she had another patient with this disease, and she recommended a doctor named Matthew Bringman in Richmond, Virginia. And even though it was a long way from home, we decided to go and make the trip because it was worth it at that point. Because we all was denying what that other doctor had said, that sounded ridiculous. And when we got there, he was surprised I was still in the feeding tube, like that I had just gotten off of it. And then he said that certain age groups are rarer than others, and that my age group is the rarest of them all, so my disease was already even more rare than it was. And then he said that that other doctor was entirely wrong, that there are medications that show improvements in certain age groups. And then he told me that what could be causing my gastroparesis was having a low thyroid. So he put me on Thyroid. And for months at that point, I had been losing my hair, and I thought it was just due to malnutrition from me almost dying. And there's a huge bald spot right here that still hasn't grown back. And then there's multiples all throughout my head that my fiance just found. That's why I have my hair like this, to make it look fuller. And he put me on this Thyroid, which is a thing that produces more of the thyroid hormone that you need. And if you have a low thyroid, it can cause gastroparesis, it can cause hair loss, it can cause weight loss. And something that I forgot to mention is that during the 3 months that I was being told I was crazy, and before I had a diagnosis, and before I went into the hospital and almost died, when I first started off, I weighed 285 pounds. And after the point I had gotten in the hospital and almost died, I weighed 170. I had lost 115 pounds within 2 or 3 months. And every time I say that to anyone, they're like, no, that's impossible. But then I show them pictures of me. This is all skin now, left over from the weight loss. My stomach has decreased a lot as well. I can actually see my figure now. But that was another reason why I was so sick. And after I had seen that doctor and been on Thyroid for a while, I realized my hair would stop falling out, and everything was pretty much better. My stomach was able to move a little bit more. I went to Texas to see my sister and my new baby niece, and I ran out of Thyroid while I was there. And within days, a chunk of hair, as big as my pinky, had fallen out right there. And I was starting to get worried again. But I didn't have a choice to get any medicine because my insurance wasn't accepted anywhere except for in-state. So I waited until I got back in Virginia and got back on Thyroid the second I got home. I've been on Thyroid now for 5 days without missing it, and my hair has already shown improvements. But I can literally still just do this, and then just giant chunks of my hair fall out just from touching it. And at this point I am in now, I am able to eat. I don't have to be on the feeding tube anymore because I don't have it in my nose anymore. Having the feeding tube had made me get cystic acne right here where the tape was because the oil was building up under there. And I've begun to treat that as well. And the whole point of this video is to let people know who have this disease, you are not alone. I thought I was entirely alone because I heard that this was rare, which it is. And I literally was killing myself slowly because I was told I was going insane, and the side effects of the Reglan and everything combined, I almost died. Again, I'm not making this video for pity or anything. I'm making this as a warning and as a sign of hope to people with my disease. You are not alone. You are not going insane. If you feel like your stomach can't hold anything anymore, ask your family doctor for the gastric emptying test. It is worth a shot. If you are throwing up every day, can't even keep water down like I couldn't even keep your Phenergan or Zofran, your nausea medicines, down that would help with the nausea, go get help. The way gastroparesis feels like, an easy way to explain it, is like you had the worst stomach flu of your life every day of your life. But don't believe doctors. Don't believe emergency room people that don't know even what this disease is, because most of them won't. They'll just give you morphine because of the pain and send you on your way like they did me. Ask for a gastric emptying test. Get diagnosed. Most likely don't take Reglan because it has severe side effects. Look into it before you start taking it, if you do decide to take it. Then go see about if you need to be put on Thyroid to see if that is the cause of it. There's only a few causes to get gastroparesis, but there's still so little known about it. I got lucky eventually. There is a surgery that most insurances don't cover, and it's still experimental, where you can get a pacemaker put in your stomach to regulate and make your stomach start moving again via the pacemaker. However, I could not get that surgery because my insurance doesn't cover it, and it's an experimental surgery because it was just found out that that could treat gastroparesis not too long ago. But please, get the help you need. Don't try to kill yourself like I did. It's a slow and painful way to die. Don't cut yourself. That won't take away any of the pain. I should know, because I used to. Not for this disease, but for other reasons. It doesn't help. You think it does, because the brain can be a powerful thing, but it doesn't. It does not help at all. It only makes you worse, and then you go deeper and deeper, and then you almost die. Just don't feel alone. Don't do that. Don't harm yourself. Get help. You are not alone. Thank you for watching. Please get the help you need. Don't let doctors tell you you're insane like they did me. If you know something's wrong in your body, you fight to know what's wrong. Don't just give up. Everyone, please get the help you need. Goodbye.